Hey everyone, I was late recording our weekly video. I was selected as a mentor for the Climate Reality Global Training. We have 10,000 people from all over the world attending this training that's going to start at the end of the week, and I was selected as a mentor, and it has turned out to be a lot more work than I had anticipated. So I really appreciate everyone being super flexible with me this week. You guys are doing a great job on the discussion posts. I see great answers so far. For those of you that talked to me about not having the book, looking up more about CSR and getting familiar with it as an introduction will help you be able to answer the discussion question. And then I did get some questions on the type of business to select. And the reason I put local is so that you have the ability, again, within the confines of COVID-19, that you have the ability to go to the business, walk around, learn more about their operations, talk to people face to face, or maybe talk to them virtually, but to pick something where you're able to go and see it with your own eyes if it's possible. I also mentioned to find something that's in your network. And that's because if you kind of just reach out to a random business, they may be a little skeptical into why you want to come and ask questions and visit. Some businesses are totally open to that. They love having students come and check out what they do. But if you have an in at that company, that typically can help you get the ball rolling and being able to do this, especially with this only being a 4-week class. So 4 to 5 weeks. So that's why I suggest you kind of look at your network and see who you can leverage to make sure you guys get into a good company. I will give you more on the final project next week in terms of kind of the layout. But for the most part, you guys will be following kind of what you learn in this book. And as you read, you can think about questions you would want to know about with that specific company. So a couple of things, I won't go through part one too in depth, but a few things I did want to highlight is Chandler talking about businesses being a more effective vehicle for social good. Right now, business really surrounds everything that we do, so they are a better way to get us further when they start to make decisions that support social and environmental good. We have seen this with the Black Lives Matter movement. That's a really good recent understanding of how businesses are changing their habits or who they support in order to do better social good. So for example, Nike and a couple other companies have talked about pulling their funding from the Washington Redskins if they do not change their name. And because a dollar has so much power, that has caused the administration at the Washington Redskins to say, okay, now we're going to officially change our name, where the public has been calling for that for a really long time. So the companies hold that leverage to push, other organizations in the right direction. And that is why CSR is so important, because if a company has a comprehensive plan for what they support and how they're going to move in that direction, then we understand why that company does the things that they do, why they employ certain people, who they're going to help out in the community. Because if I don't have a plan surrounding what I'm going to do with my CSR efforts, I may be pulled in every direction to kids needing help in elementary school to, supporting people of different ethnicities. It may get very overwhelming on the causes that I support and the things I want my company to stand for if I don't have a specific plan as to what is most meaningful to me as the business. So it's really important that, and we kind of have the hierarchy here on page 5, that we think about all the different responsibilities that go into the business, because at every iteration, the company has an ability to support their CSR efforts. So it's not necessarily that CSR has to come at the end when the company is sound, when they're making good profits. It can be built into the company as soon as they start. They could have a purpose, like 1% of the profits go to the planet, or excess food feeds the homeless, or they hire people with disabilities to serve their food. It can be something that's built into why that company exists in the first place. So there are a lot of different ways that Chandler discusses the importance of CSR, but one of the most important things that we'll cover throughout our time in this class are what stakeholders mean to that company, and to be able to successfully manage stakeholder relations, because that is essential to success. Because if our stakeholders are frustrated and angry and do not like our operations, they have a lot of power to make business difficult for us. So we want to make sure that whatever stakeholders are important to our business are being managed and heard, and their expectations are being met to the best of our ability. It's also to understand what was acceptable yesterday may not be acceptable tomorrow. So we've seen this with the Black Lives Matter movement, with LGBTQ populations, with things that were okay to do environmentally are not okay now. So that's again why it's so important to stay up on, you know, where society is moving, because a business needs to shift in that direction as well. And so the Malden Mills example, in terms of him taking really good care of his employees while the mill was being rebuilt, probably has some resonance with our current COVID situation, which can make us feel really stressful, because those business owners, try their best to keep everyone well taken care of, and they may in the end cause more harm because the business can't fully recover from this difficult situation. So again, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to how we manage our operations, how leadership meets expectations. But when we enter an economic crash, or an event like a fire or some sort of catastrophe, being able to recover from that when we give so much back socially actually kind of makes it much more difficult for us to reset what we're trying to do. So you guys saw the different foundations of CSR, our ethical, moral, and our rational approaches. You guys then got into chapter 2 as driving forces. So hopefully that made some sense to you guys. And then you had a case on religion at the end there. But again, this is just to familiarize yourself with the concept of CSR, what it means to businesses, and why it is so important. And again, as you go through your book, this is when you start thinking about questions you want to learn more about. So you guys will see in the discussions where I hopefully lead you in the direction of getting your final project done. I don't want you to be kind of slammed with it at the end there. So I ask you questions throughout our time to make sure you guys are headed in the right direction. But as you read through this book, it's important to make sure you guys are jotting down, well, geez, I'd like to know more about this, and what are their efforts, and what does the company stand for, and how does leadership support those efforts? How do employees know that's even going on, or can employees participate? So these are, as you read this book, that's how you're going to come up with a lot of those questions. And then we'll discuss it as well as the weeks go on. So as always, please reach out if you have any questions about anything you guys are doing in the class. I appreciate all the questions so I can make sure you guys are on the right track and you learn as much as you possibly can during this week or during our summer session. It's really important to me that you guys feel like you have a really strong understanding of CSR at the end of this course. So please feel free to reach out because this virtual space can be difficult to navigate and we're all doing it together. So I appreciate all of you taking the class and I'll hear from you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.